Hello, everyone. My name is Caitlin Heininger, and as the Education Coordinator for LMA Headquarters, I would like to welcome you to today's webinar, Marketing and Business Development, the Managing Partner's Perspective. This presentation is in collaboration with the Managing Partner Forum. In December, LMA will participate on a Managing Partner Forum webinar featuring a handful of LMA past presidents. LMA is thrilled to be sharing both sides of the story with them. At this time, I'd like to also thank On24 for generously providing the hosting platform for our 2016 webinars. Take advantage of this engaging platform by exploring the widget at the bottom of your toolbar. Browse the resource library for a very helpful handout from today's presentation. And of course, don't forget to share what you have learned through social media channels. I also encourage everyone to submit questions via the question and answer widget. Our panelists will take questions throughout the presentation as appropriate. If we have time at the end, we will address questions in a session. However, if we do not, we will work offline to make sure we get some of those answers. A recording of today's presentation will be available in LMA's Knowledge Center by tomorrow. You will also receive an email with the direct link to this recording. Last but not least, following the event, you will be asked to evaluate today's session. To preview the questions or fill them out during the presentation, you can do so via the survey widget. We appreciate your feedback in advance. At this time, I'd like to pass the floor over to John Remsen, President of the Managing Partner Forum, to kick us off today. Please go ahead, John.
Well, thank you, Caitlin, and we're delighted to be here and delighted to have so many registrants on the line and a great panel, 3 managing partners who are going to share with us their perspectives on marketing, business development, what in-house marketing professionals can bring to the table, add value, and so it should be a very rich, interactive conversation. Most of you probably know me. I've been an LMA member since the beginning of time, it seems, joined in the mid-'80s when law firm marketing was in its infancy and was in-house at a couple of big firms. In '97, I started a consulting group, and we work mostly with mid-sized firms, 25 to, say, 200 lawyers on firm-wide strategy, retreats, recruiting, and I've been involved in some leadership positions with LMA over the years. And back in 2002, we started a Managing Partner Conference series, call it the Managing Partner Forum, and trying to build a community, a resource to which managing partners can turn to find community, answers, solutions to what's a very challenging and ill-defined role. And we're delighted to have 3 managing partners with us who've participated in our conferences, and I've gotten to know a bit and I think have great perspectives on law firm marketing and business development. Today, our learning objectives, we're going to talk a little bit about where firms are investing their marketing dollars, what's working, what's not, building that firm-first business development culture, teamwork, sharing, cross-selling. We're all in this together. What managing partners expect from in-house marketing directors, how marketing directors can be more effective, how they can earn a seat at the table. As part of working with our panel, we reviewed with them the attendees, and it's a wide range. We've got some managing partners with us. We've got some relatively new marketing folks from smaller firms with us. So we really do have a wide audience, and we'll do our best to try to answer as many questions as we can. I also reviewed with our panel the questions that our registrants, and man, did you guys come in with some great questions. So they've all seen those to have a good sense who's with us and what's on your minds and what you'd like to take out of today's session. So let me jump in and introduce our panel. Delighted to have 3 managing partners, one from a 35-lawyer firm, one from about a 100-lawyer firm, and one from about 150, 200-lawyer firm. And our first panelist is Jim Dressman. And Jim joins us from the firm of Dressman, Benzinger, LaVelle. They're based in northern Kentucky, Cincinnati, 3 office locations. And when Jim's not managing partner, he's trying to practice a little law in corporate real estate, estate planning. So, Jim, welcome.
Thank you, John.
And let's toss the question. Why, we were talking about this during our plenary, but why did you decide to become a leader of your law firm, Jim?
Why did I become a leader of the law firm?
Why did you become a leader of your law firm?
Yeah, I think that I had enjoyed a long history here where I practiced in almost every facet of law that our firm currently practices in. Plus, I know all of our lawyers personally and professionally, and my partners asked me to take over after our prior leader Jerry Benzinger went into partial retirement. And I thought with my depth of knowledge, both of the people and of the practice areas, I was probably the best person here to assume that role. So they asked me to do it, and I've done it.
Some succession planning as you work toward retirement and, slowing down a bit and making sure that the leadership and governance is there to carry the firm into the future. So, Jim, welcome.
Correct.
Glad to have you here. Our next panelist is Frank Shepard. And Frank is the managing partner of a Florida-based firm by the name of Rumberger, Kirk & Caldwell, 5 office locations in Florida and in Birmingham, Alabama. It's a 95-lawyer firm, founded in 1978. And Frank does a little professional liability, employment, litigation when he's not leading his law firm. So, Frank, welcome. And I'll ask the same question of you. How is it that you became leader at Rumberger, Kirk & Caldwell?
Well, I think everybody else took 2 steps backwards, and I was the last one standing up front. I've been with the firm since 1984, and I was very much part of the culture of the firm, grew up as the firm was growing. And when it came time to transition from one of the more senior partners to the next generation of partners, I was willing to do it. I think I had the relationships within the firm to fill the role. I think that was probably the most key thing. And I had the background from business school to manage the business side of things. And as you know, I do legal malpractice and some employment litigation defense work. And so that's pretty good skill set, I think, for a managing partner background.
And Frank, how long have you been the managing partner at Rumberger?
About 11 years, I believe.
11 years. Very good. Thank you and welcome. And last but certainly not least is a retired managing partner. And I love bringing former managing partners to panels because they often are a bit more willing to open up and share than folks currently sitting in the roles. So we want to welcome Ray Werner. And Ray is the former managing partner at Arnstein & Lear, based in Chicago, 130 lawyer firm, 6 office locations in Illinois and Florida. And this firm was founded back in 1893, and among its claims to fame is the incorporation of Sears Roebuck. So, Ray, welcome. And
thank you.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you became a leader of your firm and how long you've been in that role?
Well, similar to Frank, I joined the firm in 1991 and went on the management committee almost immediately, and have been involved in firm management. I think if all of us look at the situation at law firms, and we see some people don't want anything to do with management of a law firm. Other people might want something to do with the management, but probably won't do very well at it. And so the number of candidates is to become a managing partner as opposed to an executive committee member or a management committee member is not all that thick. That said, I was very, very honored and proud that my partners found that I was the person to take the helm about I think it was about 2004, I think, was something in that area, and kept that role until we have a mandatory retirement age. I hit that about 12 years later, and I'm still involved in an ancillary role, but stay far away from casting a shadow in any way on those that are managing it now. And from this perspective, I think one of the main things to counsel others is succession planning, and I began that when I was about 5 years from mandatory retirement. Really earlier, just keeping my eyes open, but to make sure that the right people were involved in taking over after me, and that's worked very, very well.
Excellent. Well, Ray, thank you, and thanks to each of you for joining us this afternoon and sharing your perspectives on marketing and business development. As Caitlin mentioned, please type in your questions as we go. We'll keep an eye on them. We've also reviewed the questions you all provided as you registered, and so let's take off. And what we decided to do as we planned this thing is to drill down on 5 or 6 areas that we thought were particularly relevant based upon your questions, based upon our panel's interest. And the first thing I thought we would drill down on, a marketing director. Still a lot of smaller and mid-sized law firms hiring their first marketing director. And a lot of partners asking, what the heck is a marketing director? What do they do? We've never had one of these people before. And Jim, I know your firm at 35 Lawyers recently hired a marketer. And so I thought I'd start with you. And how did you sell your partners? When did you know it was time? How did you find the right person and get them plugged in and up and running?
Well, I'm going to go back a few years, and when we never called it marketing, we did, we did client development on an individual basis. Partners were expected to do that. Some partners were expected to do more than others, but there wasn't any formality to it. So everybody had their own individual efforts, not necessarily coordinated. Unfortunately, we lost 2 partners, important partners in our firm, by death in the same year. And the rumor in the legal community was our firm was coming apart. And it's that when we realized that many people identified us as a collection of individuals, but not a firm. So we committed at that point that we needed to develop a firm branding, because we knew we weren't coming apart, but people just knew individuals. So we engaged an outside marketing firm to help us create a branding that would get us known more as a good law firm as opposed to a collection of good lawyers. So we went about that for a few years, and it went fairly well, but as a managing partner, I started noticing that the bills were going up and up. I didn't particularly like a lot of the direction they were pushing us in, and we spent more time trying to draw the outside firm back to where we thought our strategic objectives were closer. Long story short, I went to one of
Jim, this is an outside PR firm you're working with?
Correct, an outside PR firm. Correct. Mm-hmm. And they did help us, in a very broad sense, how to create a brand. But I don't think they really understood us all that well. And then the expenses were getting significant, and I had already been suggesting as managing partner, why don't we just hire somebody in-house? I went to your managing partner forum, John, and learned that many others of our size had already had people on board. So took the information you gave me back to my partnership and said, I think it's time. So we retained a consultant who screened, first of all, posted, helped us develop a job description, and then we posted it in all the places we thought were the most likely place where people would read them. And then our consultant, who herself previously was a marketing director in a firm actually larger than ours, screened all of them down to about 5. We had a small committee that interviewed all 5 of them, and we all locked onto the same candidate who we hired about 2 years ago. And it's, in hindsight, was the best decision we've made in a long time, and probably should have done it 2 years prior to that. So that's how it came about. Let
me ask you, when you came back from this managing partner conference with this crazy idea that we should hire our first marketing director, How did your partners react to that? Did they just acquiesce and say, "You're right, Jim, let's go," or did you get a lot of pushback?
No, I think everybody was observing the same things that I was observing, is that we're not professional, and an outside consultant can help to some degree, but they're not here on a day-to-day basis. They don't really, I don't think, get a feel for opportunities or where things need to be nuanced, like somebody who is living and breathing inside our office. So, and they saw the expenses. So it really was, I think, just making more concrete what everybody else had already were observing this as well as I was. So we had already committed that we needed to market years before. So the marketing component of it was not hard. It was how did we do it best. And I think,
and when you were looking at candidates, was law firm experience important to you? Did you want someone with some industry knowledge and an awareness of bar rules and regulations?
Absolutely, it was. It wasn't disqualifying. Actually, of the 5 we narrowed down, if I recall correctly, at least 2, maybe 3 had no law firm experience, but they did have experience in the service industry, for example, with an accounting firm or something like that. So, yes, experience in the service industry was essential. Experience with a law firm kind of raised you to the top.
Okay. A couple of other things. You said you had a job description, which I think is great. And in hindsight, I hear this a lot from firms. In hindsight, best decision we've made in a long time. What took us so long?
Absolutely.
And now, Frank, your firm hired your first marketer about 10 years ago, as I recall.
That's right.
And
That's right.
Talk to us about how your firm came to the realization it needed a marketer, and how you went and found this unicorn.
Well, we had some of the same scenario that the Dressman firm did, in that we first went with outside PR people that we were using, and that was kind of the first step. And we were also discussing branding was the idea at the time, that we needed some branding of our firm, which was the early phases of it. And I really think some of that was kind of naive in terms of what our real needs were for a marketing director. But, of course, you're very familiar, John, with our process for hiring a marketing director, since you were involved with that and helped us with the process. And we've been very pleased with our candidate, our marketing director. And I did encounter some resistance in my firm, and it's been 10 years ago. I think people are much more aware of the importance of marketers now, and how important it is to the lifeblood of a law firm. But we encountered some resistance internally to bringing on a full-time marketer and the expense associated with that at the time. But I think in hindsight, everybody agrees that it was a great idea, an absolute necessity, and I think it has been vital to changing the culture of our law firm. I think that would probably be the most important thing, is having somebody in-house helping to change the firm into a culture of business development. And it sort of took time to do that, but the ship has certainly turned, and we have a culture of business development firmly entrenched in our firm now, and I credit our marketing director, Marissa Gonzalez, with that to a large degree.
And she's done a great job for you, my observation. And was law firm experience important to you as you were assessing candidates?
It was. I think it was. I think it was important to us, and maybe for a second person it wouldn't be as important. But for us to have a marketing director for our first and only marketing person at the time, I do think it was helpful.
Great. And Ray, we'll wind up with you in this particular segment, and how you went about hiring your first marketer, and was there pushback? Did they assimilate into the role nicely? And what's been your firm's experience?
Well, we sort of snuck it up on our partners, and several years ago, the firm was dominated by a few large rainmakers, and marketing wasn't much the thought of those people. My prior firm failed because of that, and there wasn't. We had loads of business for a while. Everybody was busy doing that work, but it led to some hard times at the firm, and the firm closed. I joined Arnstein then with that lesson recently learned, and gradually we started adding people in support roles to help us to make sure that we had marketing materials available, to polish those marketing materials, to polish our other presence in the market, and so there's really a couple of roles of marketing departments, I think. One is to do the basic blocking and tackling, to make sure that you have swag in the drawers to pass out at events, to make sure that you have a website that is what you want it to be, to make sure that you can respond to RFPs and do all of those things. That's kind of the basic blocking and tackling of it. The next level is what Jim was saying and Frank was saying, is to help build that cultural awareness in the firm of marketing. When lawyers come out of law school, marketing is nowhere on their mind. They're wide-eyed rookies in many respects, and they don't realize that getting business is as important as doing the work itself. And for that development of that role with both inside and outside people, the outside people being more surgical, a public relations group, for example, a group of sales trainers and others that you call upon to help your people, is very important to have to supplement your in-house marketing staff. I think we have 4 or 5 employees who help us in that regard, and we have a selection of outsiders that we go to for sales training or whatever.
I see you answered the question that we have from our audience there about when you bring in outside help. You talked about surgical, right. And so thanks for keeping your eyes on those questions. At what point, gentlemen, do you think a firm, in terms of its size, for lack of better sort of, should consider hiring a marketing director full-time in-house? At what firm size is that justified, a full-time in-house person, in your view? And Jim, since you're the smallest of the 3 firms, what's your sense of that?
Well, I mean, I think as Ray mentioned, the blocking and tackling is something that no matter how big a firm is, how big a firm you are, you still need somebody to do it. So the question is, do you use attorneys or other staff, or somebody who's more trained in it? Doing proposals, keeping your website current, getting newsletters edited and out the door, keeping your mailing list, your CMR, all that kind of stuff. So it's, I've always heard anywhere from 20 to 25, but you have to start thinking about it when you're as large as only 10, I think. A lot of it's, obviously you got to figure out, what the right cost return is, but I think earlier is better than later, and I think there's a lot that a marketing person in-house can do, even for the small firm.
I often recommend that 20 lawyers or so, if you're serious about this marketing and business development stuff, there's some strong justifications to bring an in-house marketer to bear. But as you say, an 8-lawyer firm that really gets it, wants to get out and hustle, might could stand to use a full-time in-house person as well. So
I think in part the answer is related to the nature of the firm. Is it a plaintiff's personal injury firm? Is it a limited practice area firm, employment law, labor and employment firm? How big is it, and where it is, and the nature of its practice, I think, are big drivers of the decision of when to hire and who to hire. What type of person do you need?
I think that's important, that based upon the firm's strategic priorities, the marketer has the skill set to support those, and that's an important consideration. And I'm going to move into this next sort of discussion, the difference between marketing and business development. And I find that most rank and file partners, I don't think, have a full appreciation for how all the pieces fit together: advertising, marketing, business development, sales, social media, PR, how all these pieces fit together. And I'll turn to you, Ray, and how you would define the difference between marketing and business development.
Well, John, as you alluded to, there's kind of a continuum here of different activities that are done to market the firm. I think you start with the identification of who you are and what you want to be. And basic marketing is to develop that identity. People call it brand. I call it identity, as to who you are and what you wanted to be and how you're going to promote that. Then you move along those gray lines and you try to say, okay, we're going to be a defense firm, or we're going to be a plaintiff's firm, or we're going to be a labor and employment firm. How do we get the business to support that? And many of your lawyers are already doing that. They're members of the organizations, whether it's the American Bar Association, the local bar association, the healthcare lawyers, the real estate lawyers, the DRI, whoever it is. So they're already out there helping identify, prospects or groups of prospects or industries that they want to address. I think Jim talked about it. All that does is create a bunch of different lawyers, maybe a lot of good lawyers, who are out there working as silos independently. You try to bring those people together. And this is really the hardest part, the execution on getting lawyers thinking about the same thing and trying to get them to address an industry, address a client group, address some marketing, some business development activity that they're going to take in a coordinated way and keep following up on it to enrich the practices and enrich the firm.
I think, getting lawyers out there, building relationships and reputation is really what it's about. And
That's right.
I've worked with some firms where they expect the marketer to go out and bring in the clients. And I say, no, ladies and gentlemen, the marketer is going to give you the tools, help you identify opportunities, but the client hires the lawyer, and it's reputation and relationships. That's you, not the marketer. Frank, how do you distinguish the difference between marketing and business development at your firm?
Well, I think that I would say that the marketing is the tools and business development is the relationships. And I think that a marketing director facilitates the business development by giving the attorneys the tools and coaching them and facilitating the efforts that they have, providing them with the opportunity, identifying opportunities for them, and helping them to capitalize on those opportunities. But we do not expect our marketing director to be a salesperson for the law firm. The lawyers are the ones that have to build the relationships, as you said. So I think that, I perceive marketing to be the identification of clients, the branding of the law firm in the marketplace, efforts at the target market, such as online, social media, website, those sorts of things, helping with the blocking and tackling, the grunt work that marketing directors and staff have to do with RFPs. They do a better job than a lot of our lawyers do, and they also do the research necessary to help our lawyers be more effective when they do client visits and client development activities.
Do most of your lawyers get that and understand the difference?
I think so. It's one of those things we have to do a little remediation on every now and then. But we certainly convey the message. I think sometimes our lawyers want things to magically happen for them, and because they're busy or whatever. And but I think the ones that are effective do, and the ones that are our best business developers, best rainmakers, are the ones that do get it and understand that it's their responsibility to build those relationships.
And Jim, anything to add in this particular topic?
Well, we talk about this quite a bit because our we're trying to change our focus now, less of print ads and marketing and more towards business development, because we've learned, and I'm sure a lot of people have written about it, that most people pick their lawyers because of a trust relationship, and you don't get a trust relationship from an ad. So it takes years to develop it. Everyone has to participate in it, and building those relationships, as Frank just said. That's where the ultimate business comes from. The marketing component, the branding, gives what you're selling credibility. You're part of a significant firm. You're not, you're not. You would be a good choice, assuming that the trust relationship is there. So yeah, that's all comes to trust.
I find so many lawyers just don't get it, and I chose this slide. I work with a firm in Tennessee, and the managing partner gets it, and he describes marketing as the bird seed you toss out there to attract the birds. Business development is shooting the bird and bringing it home. You can set the stage. You've got the tools, but somebody's got to go capture the bird and bring it home. And one of the things I describe is marketing is the stuff you buy: the brand, the logo, the advertising, the website, the collateral. Business development, you got to go earn relationships, and that's time. Lawyers going out investing time in relationships, starting with clients, and then plugging into those target-rich environments and showing up and getting active and building friendships. I still believe that clients hire lawyers, they know, they like, they trust, and that's the business development, building that trust. And I see more and more firms are starting to hire directors of business development who are working with the lawyers on the coaching and training to help them with their skill sets. Moving on to prioritizing. Marketers get pulled a million different directions, and well-intended partners have their projects, and they need immediate attention, of course. But if a marketer spreads too thin trying to make everybody happy, that's probably not a good situation. Frank, how do you work with your marketer to identify the priorities and keep her focused on the important stuff?
Well, we meet on a regular basis, and so I work pretty closely with her on what's going on. She keeps me advised, and I probably talk to our marketing director every other day.
Do you really?
And yeah, I do.
Does she come to you, or are these set meetings, or are they more kind of got-a-minute type meetings?
Both. We're both in the same office, and so she's down the hall, and And we do have her on the floor with all the lawyers for that reason, so that she's present with the lawyers. But, I'm the one who plays traffic cop, just like I do when there's conflicts between partners over an associate, and we do have some, need to prioritize priorities, I think, because we're probably a little bit short-staffed in our marketing department. But you have to, I try not to make it her problem, because I don't think that's fair to her to have to set priorities, just like I don't think it's fair to an associate who gets put between two partners on projects to have to make that call. So I do get involved, and I try to, we set goals, and one of the big things, like right now, she's going through the process of working with all of our partners on their individual business development plans for the coming year. And so that's the priority. And, we try to let people know that, and, things do come up. But as you know, particularly in a firm like ours where you have 90-something trial lawyers, everybody, it can be assertive about what they think is important. So, yeah.
You think?
So, right. So I do have to get involved from time to time, and but I think she does a good job at it generally.
Ray, how about you? You're a 130, 140 lawyer firm. How do you keep your in-house marketer focused on the big picture stuff, or whatever you have identified as the priorities?
Well, we're fortunate that we're large enough to have different people in the marketing group tasked with different subsets of activities. Somebody's in charge of the website, somebody's in charge of social media, somebody's in charge of the RFPs and so on. Getting to the bigger picture and what we're going to do, and some of the questions that are coming in about the trust in the marketing person, the trust in the business development officer, these are the bigger, harder culturalization questions that have to be looked at, addressed, answered. And it's not quick. You don't just say to your lawyers, we're going to do this. You got to build consensus. You have to show successes. You have to demonstrate that this person has value to them. And as with anything, lawyers, Frank or John, one of your handouts talked about the personality traits of lawyers. We're all skeptics. We're all assertive. We're skeptics. We don't believe it until we see it. We don't like risk. How am I going to let somebody else help me develop this client that I've been working on all these years? Well, that marketing
my client, by the way,
director,
not our client.
Pardon?
My client.
my client. That's right. And that's where, as Frank was saying, I think earlier, it's the relationship between that client and that lawyer that carries the day. But how can that business development professional help that lawyer enrich that relationship with that client representative? That's the hard part. First, they're getting under the tent, and once you're under the tent, keeping it. And there's many facets to that, making sure that the service is good, making sure that the quality of the legal services is good, making sure that responsiveness is good. Constant culturalization, and you're still going to have some good lawyers with good books who say, I'm doing it my way. But more and more, we train people to culturalize people to get them better attuned to soliciting and relying upon the support of the business development people, the marketing staff.
Excellent. And Jim, you're the firm. You have the newest marketer on board.
Yeah.
About 2 years, you had said. And how did you get her focused? How did you identify those priorities at Dressman and get her focused on those? Because I'm sure when she arrived on the scene, There was a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of crazy projects just that needed immediate attention. So
absolutely. So, yeah, Andrea keeps a list of everything she's working on, and periodically she actually meets with another partner who used to be the chair of our marketing committee and now is the marketing committee. So he's lost his members, but they meet regularly and set priorities. We recently added a staff member to assist just because she was doing things that she was overqualified to be doing and needed some clerical assistance. Her performance has just been so over the top that I don't have any problems with partners asking her to assist. Our biggest problem is the over demand of her time. So, we work through it. I get involved as needed. I consult regularly with my partner who really deals more directly with her about, whether we should do this or drop this effort this year and put it on the agenda for next year and things like that. So I can't say it's a big source of stress in our firm, but it is an issue. We have to prioritize.
Sounds like you have a partner in charge of marketing at Dressman.
Correct.
And she reports to that partner in charge of marketing.
Correct. Sort of a dotted line, but reports to me as well. But, I've got so many other duties, plus I do practice law, that, and this partner his strength is in marketing, so it made it natural.
Frank, it sounds like you've got a real close relationship with your marketer, meeting on a regular basis, ongoing back and forth communication. Does she report directly to you or someone else?
Actually, she reports to our chief operating officer technically, but we have a dotted line relationship. I try to push the partners, and so I think having the managing partner supporting those efforts, and I'm also very familiar with what other lawyers are doing. And I think one of the big roles that our marketing director plays is encouraging collaboration and cross-selling of clients within the firm. So you have to be able to hook partners up in different practice groups and different skill sets and different offices, and I think that's one of the things that we do, and that's one of my roles. I know what's going on. I tend to be pretty informed about what other lawyers are engaged in, who has what skill sets in our law firm, and so we work together on that, and both in terms of collaborating on business coming in and identifying opportunities in the marketplace.
And it sounds like you do not have a partner in charge of marketing. Is that correct at Rumberger?
That's true.
Okay. And Ray at Arnstein, somewhat bigger firm. Who does your marketer report to?
The same as Frank's firm. We have a direct line, a reporting relationship with our COO. But at the end, everybody reported to me when I was. That's one of the problems of having an open door all the time. But the important thing, I think, is the example that the managing partner sets for utilizing, supporting, encouraging the marketing director and the staff, and making sure that other people have, first of all, you have to have good people. And secondly, you have to use them and show the rest of the firm that you use them, and get other people to use them, and get other people to give testimonial advertising, so to speak, for them to show that, hey, I had this RFP, it was really tough, and the marketing staff jumped on it and did a great job, got it out. We got the work, we didn't get the work, whatever the outcome was, but they're giving testimonials to the quality and of the work and the responsiveness that the marketing staff has given them.
before we leave the topic of kind of prioritizing and making sure that your marketer is focused on the important things, how many hours a week do you expect your in-house marketer to work? Jim, I'll start with you.
Well, she's full-time, so in a law firm, full-time is probably more than 40 hours a week.
70 hours.
Yeah. We don't ask her to punch a time clock, but she does what she needs to do to make sure that events come off. So that will involve sometimes early in the morning, sometimes late in the evening. Yeah, probably. But,
And Frank, do you have an expectation? Your partners have an expectation what you want your, head marketer to do?
I think everybody in our firm is expected to work hard, and that is not just the lawyers, but our managers as well. And our marketing director, I don't know what she works because I don't keep track of it, but she works full-time, and I'm sure it's over 40 hours a week. And at times, I've seen her here 9, 10 o'clock at night working on, getting RFPs or whatever out the door. And so, it just varies on the demands of the job, but she's works hard.
Yeah, we do the same thing, and the important thing is that this person takes the
teamwork, cultural shift, and I think each of you guys have talked about that's really where it's at. They're the basic tools that we expect of our marketing department. But it's the culture, the sales culture, the sharing, the teamwork, the cross-selling. And we'll start with you in this area, Jim. What can marketers do, as you see it, to promote this sales culture, this culture of sharing and teamwork that's so important to law firms these days?
Well, our marketer is really involved in all practice group meetings, and she's in all industry practice group meetings. She comes to our partner meetings. She goes on our firm retreat. So everybody knows that she's a major player. And as I indicated earlier, she has earned it as well. She's performed very, very well. She's easy to work with. She knows what she's doing. And being around her a short while, and everybody is very happy, including her and everything. So, she's helped us move from practice groups to industry practice groups. She's helped industry practice group focus on a few things instead of what normally everybody's got all these tremendous ideas and they talk about them for a few months and nothing ever happens. So she's been very good at getting people focused.
We've played through that scenario so many times. All those great
ideas
pick off a never get done.
Exactly. So
you've gone to the
she's at every meeting promoting it. We work as a team around here, and that's always been our culture. So it hasn't been really that difficult.
So the industry teams are fairly new to you at Dressman?
Yes.
And how are they working?
Well,
because I think that's the forum to really promote sharing and teamwork and cross-selling is through industry practice groups. And how's it been working for you, getting those set up?
It's working very well. I mean, and we sort of morphed. It was a sort of a process. I mean, we had a cross-selling committee before and realized that cross-selling is just another word for focusing on an industry or a group of clients. So we just started calling it that, and then we kind of asked people to sit on particular industry practice group committees and had no problem finding those people. And so in essence, you create a cross-selling practice group per industry, and it works very well. Now, sometimes you won't, we don't want to silo things. For example, we recently did a seminar very well received on the new wage and hour rules that came down, and that was every industry is impacted. So we reached out to all of our practice groups to make that happen, but. Other ones are, they're pretty focused on what they're looking for as far as legal services.
Do you have client teams as well at Dressman?
Yes, obviously, yes. On the larger clients, yeah, you have to, and we annually we take our top 25 to 50 clients and we send a team out to meet with them every year just to make sure that there's nothing that's that we're not doing that well, or something that's on their minds that they don't feel comfortable sharing at the moment. So that's been very effective too, and I think usually what we see is after we come back from those meetings, a big load of business comes in. So we think we ought to do it more often. But please.
Go visit the clients. If you have to start somewhere, go visit the clients and ask how we do.
Absolutely.
And respond to what you learn.
No, absolutely.
Pretty simple stuff. Frank, teamwork and sharing at your firm. Is your marketer instrumental in helping make that happen? If so, how's she going about it?
I think that she has been very instrumental in it, and we've always had client teams, and it's not been as formalized perhaps as it should be. But we've been kind of evolving into some different teams that are a little more formalized on a cross-office basis, and that's where I think the challenge has been for us is people in different offices working together to service client needs. And I think that our marketing director has been very helpful with that, both in identifying opportunities and connecting people who might have the ability to work together and meet those needs. It's kind of come to the point where we're doing more practice marketing teams, and we're getting some more organized teams together, that like cross-office teams that will be identifying clients and working with our marketing director to do that. I think one of the other things that she's done that's probably new for us, and we're not always on cutting edge on these things, but a client relationship management software program that we're going with, and that's been something I think that will help us to work as a team, promote teamwork, and that's a new tool for us that we're in the process of rolling out, and that's, I think, going to help all of this.
I think CRM is great. Who knows who and who's doing what, and we're coordinating and playing off each other's strengths. We can accomplish far more than if we run around like a bunch of lone wolves. Ray, I remember doing
avoiding missteps as well. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry?
And said it helps you avoid missteps because we know who's been to see whom and who has the connection. So.
Ray, I remember doing a retreat for you guys many, many years ago, and the theme was cross-selling. And we showcased examples of lawyers effectively cross-selling. And it doesn't come naturally, it seems, for a lot of firms. How y'all tackling that at Arnstein and Lear these days? What's your marketer's role to promote that firm-first team culture?
Well, we've developed kind of a clients first, firm first mantra that we keep drumming into people, and there's a natural psychological barrier, I think, in firms of the size that us managing partners that are on this call have. A lot of those people have, especially the laterals that we bring into the firm, they have their clients. And they've just capitalized on their clients by moving from old firm to new firm. And that's what made, in large part, that's what made them attractive to us and us attractive to them, that we can service them. So we need to be able to make those lawyers feel comfortable that we're not there to steal those clients. We're there to make them firm clients, and there to make everybody make the rising tide raise all of the boats. And we use it. We do that through our practice group leaders. We have regular practice group meetings, both meetings of the practice group leaders and meetings of those practice group. to try to get those people to know what they're doing, to understand what they're doing, and to suggest to them that, well, there's a tax aspect. Can our tax people help your client? Can our environmental people help your client? Can our real estate people help your client? And it's a gradual process, and it's hard, and you have to break down those psychological barriers, because many of these laterals, they may not have developed the trust in your lawyers that they have in the group leader that they've been attracted to. They don't know the people in the other practice groups, and lunches and cocktails after work and ball games and things like that, to get people to know each other and to know who they can rely upon, and rely not only that the client's not going to be stolen, that's too short-focused, but to know that this other person is going to be reliable. And when their client calls, they're going to answer the call or call them back. When their client writes an email, they're going to get back to that client, and they're going to give good legal services. And the more you can build on that, the better the end result's going to be.
A lot of firms this is a challenging area for a lot of firms. I think much of it's rooted in compensation and, what firms measure and reward. And, the numbers in my column aren't in your column. I win, you lose. And so there's a lot of internal competition, hoarding, control.
Yep.
I advise the in-house marketers really understand your firm's compensation system and what motivates lawyer behavior. Because in many cases, it's all about my client. If your firm heavily rewards origination credit for life, you're going to get a lot of hoarding and control. Team-based compensations, there's some firms doing some interesting things. I'm looking at the clock here. We're starting to near the hour. Got a couple other things, so we'll go real quick here. Investing in young lawyers. At what point do we engage our first, second, third-year associates? Should there be an expectation? Your thoughts, Ray, on this question. At what point do we engage young lawyers and put an expectation of them that this marketing and business development is important?
Well, certainly they don't learn this in law school, but if they enter a marketing, business development, sales type culture, then from the very first day they're with the firm, they see that going on around them. As they get more mature with the firm, more mature in their practices, we start giving them, 4 years, 5 years out, we start giving them formal sales training, knowing that they may not be able to execute on that, but it's another part in the continuum of their marketing development.
So at 4 or 5 years out, you start introducing this marketing training.
The formal training programs, usually with outside consultants. We have a team of people that we've used. And then as we go further on, we look at the people that are getting it, the people that are going to be stars, the people that we've identified as, separating themselves from the rest, and we give them some more specialized training.
Do you expect individual lawyer marketing plans from your young lawyers?
We don't, except as part of the training program.
Okay. Do you track the non-billable time of your young lawyers?
We track it, but there's no direct compensation for it. But the ones that get it are seeing more and more there's a payoff here. It's not a billable hour, but down the road my career is going to be benefited by taking these steps, by doing these things.
Frank,
John,
over at Lumberger,
sure.
How are you engaging your young lawyers and helping them with their fishing skills, hunting skills?
Well, we have what we call the Associate College, and this is a formal program, training program that we have for all of our associates. It starts with brand new associates, and we have skills that are being taught, workshops that they're being given, and some of those workshops and training sessions are on business development. And so we have a very structured program, and in fact, we have adopted associate business development guidelines that Marissa and I drafted together, and we had it approved by our firm's executive committee, so it's a formal guideline of the law firm. And we are presenting this at the next associate college meeting, which has, at your first and second years, this is what we expect out of you. Third and fourth year, we expect you to be doing this. And it progressively, what our expectations are. And, we financially support those efforts. And we actually give a small budget to our associates for, client development activities of their own. If they want to take potential referring lawyers or potential clients to lunch or dinner, whatever, we will pay for that. So we have a pretty structured program for our associates. We think that's a very important part of the future of the law firm, and part of key to building that business development culture that we think is critical to our success.
I like that. I like what you describe here. Are the associates embracing it, or how are they liking the associate college?
They do. They do like it, and I think that it's put pressure on the partners because it's raised the expectation for the partners to be involved and engaged with the associates as well. And it's not only the skills training, legal skills training, but business development is part of that. The idea being we want well-rounded lawyers, and we are emphasizing that business development is a part of being a well-developed, well-rounded lawyer in this day and age.
And are you guys tracking that non-billable time?
We do track it, but we had at one point we gave them a credit towards the billable hours that we would look at. We don't have a formula any longer, and my experience, frankly, is that the most productive, hardest working associates are the ones that are also most engaged and most effective at business development.
Yep.
Interesting. We are about to run out of time. Caitlin has given us permission to run about 5 minutes longer, so thank you, Caitlin. Let me just wind here with this notion of the ROI on all these marketing and business development activities, and how do we figure out what that return is on the investment of time and money. And I'll start with you on this question, Frank. How are you measuring ROI at your firm in terms of what your marketing directors bring into the table?
Well, I don't know that we really, do a formal measurement. Perhaps we should, but we do look to see that, that we aren't wasting time and money. We try not to do that. Of course, the return is zero if you don't do anything. So we encourage people to do that. Like any firm, we have, the various boondoggles that partners want to promote, and we try to discourage that. And I guess we require reports from every partner. They attend a out-of-town seminar or presentation or a meeting. Client meeting, we require a report as part of the reimbursement process. So that's one way, I guess, we measure return is, so there's accountability. You're going off and taking this time and spending firm dollars. Please give us a report, because it makes them think about what they're doing, and it also helps us in connecting and seeing opportunities for future business development elsewhere.
No report, no reimbursement. Is that how you get those reports?
Yeah, it works, doesn't it?
Yeah, I find so. Charitable giving is one of these areas where partners just love to give away the firm's money. And you set a matching program up where the partner's got to put some skin in the game if the firm's going to put some skin in the game, and it's amazing how all those crazy requests sort of go away. Firms are really starting to hone, and it's really difficult to but for activity that is generating the new matter, the new clients. Really hard to isolate that. Jim, what's been your experience as you guys bring on the marketing director and start foraying into this area? How do you assess the returns?
Well, we've talked about needing to do that, in all honesty, and I think ours is a little bit like Frank's. It's sort of anecdotal, but we are planning on, at least that's one of our goals, is to come up with some type of measuring. We are, I think I mentioned earlier, we are moving away from as many print ads, mainly because they're so expensive, and we anecdotally just don't see a big bang for your buck. We are more into putting our money where our attorneys have opportunities to build relationships, as opposed to just an ad. So it's a tough thing to monitor, though. I mean, when a partner says they think it'd be a great idea if they go to this conference in Miami because so and so is going to be there. You have to test them a little bit, but at the end of the day, you have to trust them.
Unless to be in January and they want to bring their spouse.
Yeah. That's a continual discussion that you have. Well, and those who are regular usually regularly receive a no too. So you kind of know who's asking. Yeah.
Ray, you guys, the biggest firm, you seem to be the most sort of along in your marketing business development program. How are you assessing what's working, what's not, and where your returns on your marketing investments are coming?
Well, we've looked at some programs. We've canceled some programs because we didn't think the bang for the buck was there, that the ROI was there. I used to look at everybody's marketing expenditures. We have a system sort of like what Frank has, that a young associate has no budget whatsoever. If they want to take somebody out to lunch or dinner or a ball game or whatever, as long as it's
Cubs
reasonable,
Cubs are playing
taking a private jet to the World Series.
Yeah,
we'll reimburse for it, and without question, usually. As to the partners, they have budgets, and I would review all of these expenditures, not so much that I was, the accounting staff checks to make sure it's done right. I would be looking at it from the perspective of who's taking who to lunch, who's taking who to dinner, and here's a client that Joe or Mary has, and they're spending a lot of time and a lot of money, and I'll walk down the hall and say, the profitability of this client isn't that good. The volume of work we're getting from this client isn't that good. Are you putting your energies and money where you want them to be? What about this other client opportunity over here? And, I would do that myself because I didn't want the marketing director to take the heat that I'm a lawyer. Who are you to question my judgment? But trying to, in a collaborative way, work with them to channel their time, their energy, and their funds, their budget allocation, to activities that get a little more bang for the buck.
It's a hard thing, I think, a lot of firms struggling with, trying to identify that ROI. I believe it's a cumulative effect. The studies say 8 to 11 impressions to convert a prospect to a client. 8 to 11, that's a courtship.
Yeah.
And so, what's the activity that pushes them over to become a client? And, you see a lot of lawyers out there building those relationships. They're involved in organizations, but they can't convert these relationships into fee-paying clients. But I think firms are starting more and more to try to focus on the ROI and making sure we're getting that bang for the buck, spending our time and money in the right places. But I see firms really struggling with it for a whole slew of reasons. Unfortunately, we've come to that hour where we've run out of time. This is earning a seat at the table in honor of Thanksgiving. We were going to talk about how marketers can get a seat at that table and be involved at the highest levels of firm leadership. In any event, I thought a great conversation. Want to thank Jim Dressman, Frank Shepard, Ray Werner for being with us, contributing their insights, their perspectives as managing partners. And thank you. And Caitlin, why don't we kick it back to you for the wrap-up?
Wonderful. Thank you, John. On behalf of LMA, I'd like to thank our three panelists today. This was just a great conversation, spurred a lot of questions in the inbox that we hopefully incorporated into the conversation as we went. If you have a burning question that you did not get answered in today's presentation, feel free to reach out to John directly or myself at education@legalmarketing.org, and I'm happy to put you in touch with the appropriate person who can provide that answer for you. So thank you for everyone in the audience who attended today. Hopefully you took some good pieces away that you can share with your team. A few quick announcements and important reminders before you head out. A recording of this webinar will be available in the Knowledge Center by tomorrow. You will also receive a direct link to this recording in a follow-up email. While you're on the LMA website, take a few moments to learn about LMA's Leadership Development Certificate Program. We hope you invest in your personal development and join us in Chicago this November and 15th and 16th for an in-depth professional development program. Please take a few minutes also to complete the online evaluation that will pop up as you leave today. We thank you in advance for your feedback. Thanks for attending, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.